to Kush News, the newscast of the African diaspora. I'm your anchor, Ochanda, daily bringing you the top stories from Africa and the Caribbean. Let's take a look at today's news on Thursday, June 27, 2024. Let's go to Kenya, where protests continued another day. Kenya police fired tear gas to disperse protesters in the capital, Nairobi, who have turned up to express their anger against the government and mourn people killed in earlier protests. Security forces, including the military, were deployed. To the surprise of many, the military was welcomed with a big, warm reception.
Presented a formidable spectacle in Nairobi Thursday, a stark contrast to what Kenyans have witnessed before. It all started at the Nyayo National Stadium, where armored personnel carriers and a tank pitched camp in the morning. And for 3 hours, these soldiers established a temporary base here, while the under-20 athletes were competing in qualification events. During this time, Nairobi was quiet, with everyday activities continuing as usual. But as chaos erupted in downtown Nairobi, these powerful vehicles roared to life and began their slow, deliberate drive away from the stadium. And so our journey began, following them onto Uhuru Highway, weaving through the heart of the city. Yet, perhaps unfamiliar with the city's intricate routes, they found themselves in a roundabout leading to Parklands. Shortly thereafter, back on track, and we thought the soldiers were bound for their Kabete camp on Waiyaki Way. But instead, they made a U-turn, leading us back into the city. Minutes later, we were on University Way, marking our official entry into Nairobi's troubled core. Entering Moi Avenue, the protests had hit a boiling point. The scene was fiery. On one side, police officers were firing tear gas, and on the other, protesters were hurling stones. Yet everyone made way for the soldiers to drive by slowly. This display of military might sparked a wave of curiosity and celebration amidst the heated protests. Though deployed to support the police, it seemed these soldiers were here for might and presence rather than action. They did not intervene to quell the protesters. The convoy continued into the industrial area, and when one of the vehicles broke down, the convoy stopped to have it repaired. Finally, we returned to Nyayo Stadium, where the soldiers re-established their camp, ending a day that would be etched in Nairobi's history. The military deployment in the streets had been challenged by different groups, and the court ruled in favor of the government.
This protest comes 2 days after more than 20 people reportedly lost their lives in protests against tax hikes, which saw part of the parliament set on fire. The next day, President William Ruto bowed to pressure and said that he would withdraw the finance bill containing the unpopular tax proposals. State agents have been accused of abducting hundreds of people linked to the protests. The state-funded Kenya National Commission said it had helped secure the release of more than 300 illegally detained people. Demonstrators had vowed to gather again in Nairobi city center to mourn those killed. Some have been demanding the president's resignation. The chant, "Ruto must go," has been heard throughout the ongoing protests. The turnout in the capital of Nairobi on Thursday has been much lower than in the previous protests when people stormed the parliament. Groups of protesters tried to enter the city, but most had been repelled by police. Ahead of the protests, some had vowed to march to the president's official residence, named State House. Roads leading to State House were blocked, with officers turning away some motorists and pedestrians. Earlier on Thursday, local television stations showed empty streets in the central business district, with many security forces on patrol. There have also been protests in towns around the country. In Mombasa, Kenya's second biggest city, large crowds turned out chanting "Ruto must go," with businesses having to close because of some of the looting and stone throwing. President Ruto's hometown of Eldoret on Tuesday experienced violent clashes, but today was calm. There were some clashes in Migori in western Kenya where police lobbed tear gas as they engaged with demonstrators. President Ruto won the presidency back in 2022 after campaigning to champion the interests of the hustler, a term in Kenya that relates to the ordinary citizen struggling to earn a living. But since then, he has introduced a slew of taxes, making him unpopular, as people complain that they cannot afford to pay more than what they are already struggling with because of the high cost of living. The finance bill outlined plans to introduce new taxes this year, including taxes on bread and cooking oil. The government bowed to pressure and dropped some of the taxes, but it did little to take heed to the concerns of people. These same people demanded that the bill be withdrawn entirely. On Wednesday, the president gave in to the demand, stating that the people have spoken. He defended the bill, though, saying that his government made the tough choices necessary to stabilize the economy and to help ease Kenya out of its debt. He also added context and stated that 61 cents of every dollar was spent to repay its loans. Those in Kenya, let us know your thoughts on the ongoing protests. Were you a part of? Did you know anybody part of Thursday's protests? Also, let us know, what did you think about the warm reception that the KDF military had been received from the crowd? Let's go to Sierra Leone, where they ban child marriages. Sierra Leone's lawmakers have adopted the Prohibition of Child Marriage Bill 2024 that bans child marriages across the country. The law imposes prison sentences of at least 15 years, with minimum fines of at least 50,000 leones, equivalent to 2,000 euros. Sierra Leone is one of the highest child marriage, or has one of the highest child marriages, early pregnancy, and maternal mortality rates in the world, with one of third of girls being married before the age of 18 and another third giving birth before the age of 19, according to the country's health ministry. Patrick Analo, the director of Save the Children Sierra Leone, said that this is a historic moment and an extraordinary achievement for the children across the Sierra Leone. Those in Sierra Leone, let us know your thoughts on the banning of child marriages. Congratulations to the government. Let's go to the Caribbean. And there we go to Antigua, where the government is set to clear criminal records for minor marijuana convictions. The government of Antigua and Barbuda has decided to introduce legislation and expunge criminal records for individuals convicted of possessing small amounts of cannabis. This move will erase the convictions, allowing individuals to legally state that they have no prior arrests when dealing with potential landlords, licensing agencies, and employers. The parliament is scheduled to convene in July to consider this legislation. While a bill to expunge minor offenses was passed back in 2013, it was never implemented. In 2018, the Misuse of Drugs Act modified the misuse and decriminalized possession of up to 15 grams of marijuana. However, the amendment did not fully legalize marijuana itself, as penalties for selling the drug remained in place. Current regulations also limit households to a maximum of 4 cannabis plants, with the possession of more than this number remaining illegal. This new legislation aims to address the lingering effect of past marijuana convictions, aligning with the country's more recent decriminalization efforts. Those in Antigua, let us know on your thoughts on the legislation being brought forward to decriminalize marijuana laws. Are you a grower yourself? We want to get an interview with you. If you want your identity to remain hidden, we can make that happen. When we come back, we'll have today's African proverb of the day. Don't go anywhere.
New release of the Spring Summer Collection. Visit www.mckadero.com.
Welcome back. Let's take a look at today's African proverb of the day, and it comes to us from Nigeria. What's going on, Nigeria? And it reads, in the moment of crisis, the wise build bridges and the fools build dams. Once again, in the moment of crisis, the wise build bridges and the foolish build dams. Nigerian proverb. What this is talking about is preparation. You don't want to be left behind, and you don't want to be thinking about what to do when a catastrophe happens. For instance, like let's say AI. A lot of us were, well, maybe some of us were warned about it years ago, and those that were warned about it tried to do everything that they could to prepare ourselves, to either work with AI, have it help us, or just not even be affected by it in the job market. So we took up, jobs that went into the trade field, medical fields, like, at least for right now, surgeons are better than robots, or any type of like jobs that, that a robot or AI technology cannot do. Same thing with anything else that is out there. So, you want to try to plan ahead, and you want to try to think of ways on if something can go wrong, what system do you have in place to prevent yourself or your community from feeling the effects of that thing. Let me know your interpretation of today's African proverb of the day, as well as your thoughts, views, questions, comments, and concerns on the top stories. Don't forget to hit that like button. Make it your best friend. Or Kush News on Kush Convos TV. I'm Ochanda. We'll see you soon.